You know what they say about desperation breeding innovation? Well, let me tell you about one of the most remarkable automobiles ever built in South Bend, Indiana. This is the story of the 1962 Studebaker Avanti. Picture this. It's early 1961. Studebaker Corporation is on life support. Sales are plummeting. The company that had been building vehicles since 1852 is staring into the abyss. Then Sherwood Egbert takes over as president. And this man, this former Marine, had one last idea to save the company. He wanted to build a car so radical, so advanced, so jaw-droppingly beautiful that it would stop people in their tracks. The Avanti. In Italian, it means forward. And forward is exactly where this car was headed, straight into automotive history. Now, if you grew up in the 50s and 60s, you remember when American cars were all about chrome, tail fins, and excess. But the Avanti, it threw all that out the window. This was something completely different. This was America's answer to the European grand touring cars. And today I'm going to share 13 facts about this incredible machine that will blow your mind. Fact number 1, designed in just 40 days. Here's something that sounds impossible. The entire design of the Avanti was completed in 40 days. That's right, 40 days. In March of 1961, legendary industrial designer Raymond Loewy took his team to a rented house in Palm Springs, California. Now, Loewy was already famous. This was the man who had designed everything from the Coca-Cola bottle to the Lucky Strike cigarette package. He was called the father of industrial design. But even for Loewy, this was ambitious. Egbert gave him 6 weeks to create a full-scale model of a completely new sports car. The team included Bob Andrews, Tom Kellogg, and John Epstein. They worked around the clock in that Palm Springs house, sketching, modeling, and refining. 40 days later, they had it. A design so advanced that it would influence automotive styling for decades to come. No chrome grille, clean lines, a Coke bottle waist that gave the car an aerodynamic profile unlike anything else on American roads. Think about that. In 40 days, they created one of the most iconic car designs of the 1960s. Most car companies take 3 to 4 years to design a new model. Studebaker did it in 40 days. Fact number 2, the world's fastest production car. When Studebaker introduced the Avanti at the New York International Auto Show, on April the 26th, 1962, they made a bold claim: the world's fastest production car. Now, you might think that's just marketing talk, but here's the thing, they could back it up. In late 1962, Andy Granatelli took a gold Avanti R3 to the Bonneville Salt Flats in Nevada. Granatelli was president of Paxton Products and a racing legend. He knew how to extract every ounce of performance from an engine. That day at Bonneville, the Avanti shattered 29 American national speed records. Let me repeat that. 29 records in 12 hours. The flying mile, 168.15 miles per hour. The 10-mile average, 163.9 miles per hour. These were two-way averages certified by the United States Auto Club. On the return leg of the 20-mile record run, that Avanti hit 178.5 miles per hour. In 1962, with a production car you could walk into a dealership and buy. That's faster than most sports cars today. The previous American Class C record had been held by a Dodge. The Avanti beat it by more than 50 miles per hour. 50. That gold Avanti proved that a small independent automaker from Indiana could build a car faster than anything from Detroit's Big Three. Fact number 3, first American production car with caliper disc brakes. Now, speed is one thing, but you also need to be able to stop. And here's where Studebaker made automotive history. The Avanti was the first American production car to feature modern caliper-style disc brakes as standard equipment. Not as an option, standard. These were Bendix disc brakes, manufactured under license from British company Dunlop, the same type used on the legendary Jaguar E-Type. While other manufacturers like Crosley and Chrysler had experimented with disc brakes in the late 1940s and early 1950s, their systems were problematic and quickly abandoned. The Avanti's disc brakes were the real deal. From 100 miles per hour, they could stop the car 150 feet shorter than conventional drum brakes. In wet conditions, they performed even better. The caliper design meant no fade, no loss of braking power after repeated hard stops. It's worth noting that the Chevrolet Corvette didn't get disc brakes until 1965. The Avanti beat it by 3 years. Once again, tiny Studebaker was ahead of General Motors. Fact number 4. Built from fiberglass, not steel, the Avanti's revolutionary shape would have been incredibly expensive, maybe even impossible, to produce in steel. The compound curves, the smooth lines, the seamless design. Traditional stamping methods couldn't handle it. So Studebaker took a page from the Corvette's playbook and built the body from fiberglass. The work was outsourced to Molded Fiberglass Body Company in Ashtabula, Ohio. This was the same company that had been building fiberglass panels for the Chevrolet Corvette since 1953. They knew their business. That fiberglass body weighed just 550 pounds. Compare that to a steel body of similar size which would have weighed close to twice as much. This weight savings contributed directly to the Avanti's performance. But here's the problem, and it was a big one. Fiberglass bodies are tricky. The material shrinks and warps during the curing process. Molded fiberglass bodies struggled with quality control. Panels didn't fit properly. Studebaker had planned to produce 20,000 Avantis in 1962. They managed to build only 1,200. Those production problems would haunt the Avanti throughout its brief life. By the time they got the bugs worked out, most of the early customers had given up and bought Corvettes instead. Fact number 5. 3 engine options, each more powerful than the last. The Avanti came with Studebaker's best V8 engine, the 289 cubic inch unit pulled from the Hawk. But what made it special was what you could do with it. The base engine, called the R1, produced 240 horsepower. That came from a high-lift camshaft, a dual-breaker distributor, a 4-barrel carburetor, and dual exhausts. Not bad for a naturally aspirated engine in 1962. Then there was the R2. This added a Paxton supercharger, boosting power to 290 horsepower and 303 pound-feet of torque. The supercharger cost just $210 extra. Think about that. For $210, you got 50 more horsepower. That's the deal of the century. But the holy grail was the R3. This was Andy Granatelli's masterpiece. He bored out the engine to 300 4.5 cubic inches, added forged pistons, larger ports, higher compression, and a more powerful Paxton supercharger. The result? 335 horsepower. Only 9 R3 Avantis were ever built. 9. If you see one today, you're looking at one of the rarest American performance cars ever made. There were also experimental R4 and R5 engines. The R5 had twin superchargers, magneto-ignition, and fuel injection. It produced 575 horsepower. That's Ferrari territory, but it never made it to production. Fact number 6. No traditional grille. Air came from below. Look at the front of an Avanti and you'll notice something strange. There's no grille, no chrome teeth, no traditional opening where you'd expect one. The Avanti was one of the first bottom breather designs. Air for the radiator entered from underneath the front bumper, not through a conventional grille above it. This wasn't just a styling choice, it was aerodynamically superior. Raymond Loewy hadn't had time for wind tunnel testing during that 40-day design sprint. He just guessed at the shapes that would work. And somehow, he got it right. The Avanti had a remarkably low drag coefficient for its era. That bottom breather design became much more common after the 1980s. Today, most high-performance cars use this approach. But in 1962, it was radical. It made the Avanti look like nothing else on the road, streamlined, futuristic, purposeful. Fact number 7, a built-in roll bar for safety. Safety wasn't really a selling point for American cars in 1962, but Studebaker was different. The company had a history of prioritizing safety features, and the Avantis continued that tradition. The car featured a built-in roll bar integrated into the roof structure. This wasn't just for show, it provided real protection in a rollover accident. The interior was designed with padded surfaces and recessed controls to minimize injury in a crash. All of the gauges were real instruments, not idiot lights. Oil pressure, water temperature, ammeter, fuel level, everything was clearly displayed in front of the driver. Studebaker wanted you to know what was happening with your car at all times. The seats were deeply bolstered for support during spirited driving. This was a true grand touring car, designed for high-speed cruising on open roads. Every detail showed that Studebaker was thinking about the driver's experience and safety. Fact number 8. The price was remarkably competitive. When the Avanti went on sale, it was priced at $4,445. Now that might sound like a lot for 1962, but let's put it in perspective. A 1963 Chevrolet Corvette started at $4,252. The Avanti was only about $200 more, and it came with disc brakes standard, something the Corvette wouldn't have for 3 more years. A Jaguar E-Type, which the Avanti was often compared to, cost over $5,500. The Avanti offered similar performance for nearly $1,000 less. For that money, you got a 4-passenger car with legitimate 160+ mile-per-hour performance, disc brakes, a supercharger option, and styling that turned heads everywhere. It was genuinely one of the best performance bargains of the era. Today, those same Avantis are selling for anywhere from $30,000 for a basic R1 model to over $80,000 for a pristine R2. Original R3 examples, those are essentially priceless, with so few surviving. Fact number 9. Roger Ward got the first one. Here's a piece of trivia that shows how Studebaker tried to generate publicity for the Avanti. In 1962, Roger Ward won the Indianapolis 500. As part of his prize package, he received a Studebaker Avanti, making him the first private owner of the car. A Studebaker Lark convertible was the official pace car that year, and the Avanti was named the honorary pace car. This was smart marketing. Studebaker was trying to associate the Avanti with racing, with performance, with winning. And Roger Ward was a perfect ambassador, a genuine racing champion who could speak authentically about the car's capabilities. The Indianapolis connection helped establish the Avanti's performance credentials. It wasn't just a pretty face, this was a car that belonged in the same conversation as purpose-built racing machines. Fact number 10. Production numbers were devastatingly low. Here's the tragic part of the Avanti story. Despite all the innovation, despite the performance records, despite the stunning design, it couldn't save Studebaker. In 1962, Studebaker had planned to build 20,000 Avantis. They managed just 1,200. Those fiberglass production problems, the delayed deliveries, the quality issues, they killed the momentum. 1963 was better. Studebaker produced 3,834 Avantis that year. But by then, word was spreading that Studebaker was in trouble. Customers were hesitant to buy a car from a company that might not be around to provide parts and service. In 1964, production collapsed. Only 809 Avantis were built before Studebaker closed its South Bend factory on December 20, 1963. Total production for the Studebaker Avanti, 4,643 cars. That's it. By comparison, Chevrolet built 23,631 Corvettes in 1963 alone. Today, those low production numbers make the Avanti incredibly rare. Finding one in good condition is like discovering a time capsule from an era when American independent automakers still dared to dream big. Fact number 11. The Avanti outlived Studebaker by 40 years. When Studebaker closed its doors, two local Studebaker dealers named Nate Altman and Leo Newman saw an opportunity. They bought the Avanti name, tooling and manufacturing rights. In 1965, they relaunched the car as the Avanti II. The Avanti II used leftover Studebaker chassis and later switched to Chevrolet engines. It was essentially a hand-built continuation of the original, with minor modifications. Production was slow, maybe 150 cars a year, but it kept the dream alive. Over the next 4 decades, a succession of entrepreneurs bought and sold the Avanti name. They moved production to different cities, made various changes to the design, added convertibles, and experimented with different engines. The last Avanti was built in 2006. That means this design, created in 40 days in Palm Springs in 1961, stayed in production for 44 years. That's longer than the original Chevrolet Corvette's first-generation run. It's longer than most car models last today. The Avanti Owners Association International is still active, with nearly 2,000 members worldwide meeting annually. The passion for this car has never died. Fact number 12. Raymond Loewy never got full credit during his lifetime. Raymond Loewy was the public face of the Avanti's design. His name was on all the advertising, all the press releases, but the truth is more complicated. Loewy was the creative director, the visionary who guided the process. But the actual design work was done by his team. Bob Andrews handled the sketching, Tom Kellogg worked on the proportions and details, and John Epstein managed the project. This was typical for Loewy. He was more of a design impresario than a hands-on designer. He had the vision, the taste, the ability to recognize brilliant work and make it even better. But he didn't personally draw most of the cars, products and logos that bore his name. During his lifetime, Loewy received all the acclaim for the Avanti. It was only decades later that automotive historians began to give proper credit to Andrews, Kellogg and Epstein. Today we recognize that the Avanti was a team effort, with each member contributing essential elements. But Loewy's role was still crucial. Without his vision, his connections, his ability to sell ideas to corporate executives, the Avanti might never have happened at all. Fact number 13. It changed automotive design forever. The Avanti's influence on automotive design cannot be overstated. Its clean lines, absence of chrome, aerodynamic shape, and functional approach to styling marked a turning point in American car design. In 1962, most American cars were still drowning in chrome and unnecessary decoration. The Avanti proved that less could be more. It showed that a car could be beautiful without all the excess. The Coke bottle shape, with its pinched waist and flared fenders, became a design cue that GM, Ford and Chrysler would copy throughout the 1960s and 70s. The bottom breather grille design is now standard on most performance cars. The emphasis on aerodynamics over decoration influenced everything from the Corvette to modern supercars. Car magazines of the era called it one of the most significant milestones of the post-war industry. And they were right. The Avanti showed what was possible when designers were given freedom to innovate. It's a shame that so few people today know about the Avanti. It deserves to be remembered alongside the Corvette, the Mustang, and the Thunderbird as one of the great American cars of the 20th century, because in many ways it was more innovative than any of them. So there you have it. 13 mind-blowing facts about the 1962 Studebaker Avanti. A car designed in 40 days that became the fastest production car in the world. A car that introduced disc brakes to America and pushed the boundaries of automotive design. The Avanti couldn't save Studebaker. By December of 1963, the South Bend factory was closed. But that doesn't diminish what this car accomplished. It proved that innovation doesn't always come from the biggest companies with the deepest pockets. Sometimes it comes from desperate men in a rented house in Palm Springs with 40 days to change the world. The Avanti is America's lost automotive gem. A reminder of when independent thinking and bold design could still shake up the industry. A testament to what's possible when passionate people refuse to accept limitations. If you ever owned an Avanti or knew someone who did, or even just saw one cruising down Main Street back in '63, I want to hear about it. Drop your stories in the comments below. Let's keep the memory of this incredible car alive. And if you enjoyed learning about the Avanti, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more classic car stories to share. Give this video a like and share it with your fellow car enthusiasts, because cars like the Avanti deserve to be remembered. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.